Okay, so if you've watched any videos on the channel, you know I'm a huge horror movie buff. I love all things horror movies. And there's actually a playlist I've been putting together of all the horror related props and things I've done on the channel. More to come this October, right? Because it's Halloween time. Those show up in one of these corners here, that playlist. But this is one I've been wanting to do for a long time. This is the Miner from 1981's My Bloody Valentine. I don't know why. Why is any movie your favorite movie? I don't know. But this is probably in the top 3, if not my #1 favorite horror movie. I don't know why. It's just, it's got a fun story. It's got some great kills. It's got, I think, one of the most iconic looking killers, the Miner. And you might guess, why is he called the Miner? He's a miner. So the costume is a miner outfit. Now, the cool thing about this is, yes, there was a little bit of 3D printing, not a lot. It was mostly research and then picking up the different pieces and parts that are actual miner equipment and then adapting it to make it look like the movie versions, because of course the movie would tweak them a little bit here and there to make them look maybe more movie related and or just darker, because these are, you want the character not to have like bright red pieces, so we blacken some things up. But this was a real fun one to do the research on. Now, of course, research is one of my favorite things. I scour the internet, and of course, one of the first places I look actually is Facebook, to see if a Facebook group exists, because then you've got all that information in one place. And of course I did. I found the My Bloody Valentine group. Links, all the links to everything will be below. And I was able to do a bunch of research and find the things I needed, ask the questions, and then find some craftsmen who really sort of specialize in creating some of this gear to put this together. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I adapted some of the pieces parts. Now, what are the pieces that you need for this cosplay? Links to everything will be below. The first thing you're going to need here is the MSA Comfo cap, and this is just a miner's cap, and you can look for a vintage one, or you can buy a brand new one on Amazon, or you, like I said, go on eBay. They run around 60 bucks. I found this painted gold with stickers all over it, and I just scraped it off and sanded it and painted it black. So now I've got the cap for the helmet, and this is a miner's cap because he is a miner. Then, of course, what you're going to need is the biggie. And this is the MSA Chemix mask. Now, a lot of people think this is a gas mask, but it's not. It's like a scuba mask, or scuba style. And these you can find on eBay. They can get expensive. These can be like around $300. You want to try to find them with the hoses in decent shape, because sometimes like the rubber in the hose gets really sort of cracked. I was lucky enough to find this. I want to say it cost me $200, and I went ahead and got this. Now, the cool thing about the user group is I found a guy, Michael Hardesty. I'm probably saying the wrong last name, totally wrong, but he goes through and tweaks these to make them more screen accurate. So he tinted the lenses, he cleaned up all the metal, he added some parts that needed to be more screen authentic, and he sort of just wiped it all down and sort of rejuvenized the rubber. It looks beautiful. It looks, brand new, but still a little bit of age to it, which is very, very cool. The next big thing is this Kohler Wheat Light, and this will come red, and then you've got to paint it, and a lot of work you've got to do to this, because this is a battery. So this is this huge dry cell battery, and you got to rip all that stuff out if you want the light to work again, because most of the time you're going to buy these used and they are not going to work. I think this one cost me about $30, and then I did the work on it. Now you're going to see how I did that later on in this video, how I cleaned it all up. And I'm looking at my notes here so I don't forget anything. Then we've got the MSA W65 Self-Rescuer. And this is another thing that comes silver, some like chrome looking. So you've got to take it apart, get the stuff out of the inside, paint it, and add some other pieces, parts to it again. This will be later on in the video. So this was very, very easy to do, but very, very cool. The other thing you're going to need here are just a pair of cheap leather gauntlets. Links to these will be below. I got these on Etsy. I think they were, I want to say $15. So right there, I was going to look for vintage stuff, but if you can find them like this and they're cheap and you can sort of scuff them up and make them look used, that's the way I would probably go with it. Now, these I just found, and I'll put the link below. These are Canadian M5 boots, and I got them from a store in Canada, as you might have guessed. And they've got a particular style to them where it's got 9 eyelets, and then it's got like in this little sort of the joint of your leg here, the joint of the ankle, there's no eyelet. It's sort of like a little V that bends. And the place I got these from, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it below. Super, super nice. I asked for an 11. They called and said they didn't have one. They had a 10, 10 and a half. I said, those aren't going to fit. He said he'd keep looking. I said, they don't even have to be in great shape because I'm going to weather them. They're for a costume. He wants pictures now. So I got these. They were $50. So super cheap to get something like that. Now, if you've got a pair of work boots that are black and you don't want to, you know, go for the ones that were in the movie, go a little bit cheaper. That is totally fine. Now, one of the things that I couldn't find vintage, I kind of tried, is this really amazing miner's belt. And I got this again from Michael Hardesty. And it is this double belt. One is pretty much a standard belt. And beautiful craftsmanship. Nice leather, you know, smells great, looks great. I'll weather it up to make it look worn. So you've got a regular belt that you put, of course, around your waist. And then you've got this tool belt that you hang the stuff from, like the wheat lamp, like the rebreather, and maybe some other tools if you want. And again, he made both of these. I cannot remember how much they cost, but I'll leave his information below so you can take a look at that. So we got that, these things. Again, I don't want to forget stuff. Now, one thing I haven't done yet is the pickaxe. I'm actually printing that, and that is a grip fast, hold fast P58 pickaxe. It's sort of from the war. It's a smaller head, so it's not this big, long, sort of curved head. It's almost straight and pointed. And again, I'm 3D printing that because, you know, if you bring that to a show, you're not going to get in there with a metal pickaxe, and nor should you. So that I'm printing now. The leather miner's belt we did. The last thing are the coveralls, and these are just a pair of work-all or work-right. Links below. I should have wrote that down, but I didn't. Coveralls. Again, Michael Hardesty actually has a couple pair that he has, one on a mannequin for display. He's trying to clean some stuff out. So he's going to sell me those, so I can just go ahead and get that and be done with it. I don't have to go and get a pair and dye them and do all this kind of stuff. Now, if you want to do your own research for this, I'll have links. Check out that that group. I'll put some other links that I used there that were super, super helpful. And a lot of the pictures I'm showing in here, special thanks to the board, they came from that group, and it totally, totally really helped. One of the neat things Michael also sent me was just this like simple little balaclava, because you know you need to have the balaclava on that goes underneath all of this stuff. So it was really super nice of him to send that as well. So let's go ahead behind the fake wall, and I'm going to show you how I ripped this thing apart and this thing apart and painted it and got everything looking the way it looks. And then once I get those overalls in from Mike, I'm going to go ahead and do a suit up, and I am looking forward to that because I've always wanted to do this cosplay. Let's get behind the fake wall and get to work. Okay, you can probably guess that I got this helmet really cheap because of all the stickers and the crazy paint job. I went ahead and scraped off some of this vinyl tape using a blade in the most unsafe way, with the blade coming right towards my finger. Now, I went ahead and tried to scrape off some of these, but they're so thin, I went ahead and sanded it. I thought that would work just as easy, and it did. And of course, with a whole bunch of sanding to get it smooth, this is how it looked. And it doesn't matter, because what we're going to do is we're going to prime this just with some white primer, no big deal, and then with some black paint, and this is a satin Krylon. Now the inside doesn't have sort of like that head support, so I'm just going to do that with foam. Now we're going to look at the lamp. Now, as you can see, the lamp comes red, and it, of course, is black in the movie because you don't want to be seen if you're a horror killer, so you need to paint this thing black. But first I want to take a look at the lamp to see if the bulb is actually good. Now it's got a little pin here. You need to loosen that screw and then this thing just unscrews. And I wanted to check the contacts in here because of course the battery in that red case is long since dead, but the contacts look good and the bulb is good. So I didn't have to actually look for a replacement. Now we're going to take the guts out of this thing. Now this thing is filled with some really nasty stuff. So I'm wearing a sort of heavy duty sort of rubber pair of gloves and a mask and a respirator. Now this was not easy to take apart. The first part was the metal part, and then this plastic part was a bear. But then you can go ahead and just pull out all this stuff, and this is why you're wearing a mask, because this is asbestos, this is battery acid, it is nasty stuff. Now to wire this back up, you're just going to use the two red and black that are of course connected to the main wire that goes to the lamp. The other two you don't have to worry about. We're going to strip these down. I'm going to connect it to this battery pack. Just a simple solder, a little bit of a heat sink because you don't want things touching in there, and that's it. Now we're going to test the light to make sure it works because you always want to test things before you put things back together, and we do, and it is super bright. It looks great. Very hairy Warden. I'm super happy. Slide this sucker in there and then get putting it together. So the back part just slides back on. I bent that down a little bit. Then you put the clip back in and you just sort of squeeze it in there and force that sucker in so that it's going to work right, and it goes under the plastic and under that metal. And then you just go ahead and add those two screws to tighten it back up. And that is it. This thing is ready to go on the belt and then clip the light onto the helmet, and still works. Really, really happy with how this guy turned out. Now we're going to work on the self-rescuer. So we're going to first take this little pin, not really a pin, but piece of metal out that holds that on. It's sort of like a little safety latch. And we're going to get rid of that. I'm not going to use that again. And then we pop this apart just by that. Simple. But you can see it's very grimy. It's very dirty. It hasn't been used as far as like being opened up, but it's got some grime. So I'm going to wear some gloves and a mask because I don't know where this thing has been, and I'm not even sure what's in it until I take it apart. And I was really surprised. This thing is super heavy, but this is the rescuer. So it makes sense. There's your mouthpiece there. You'd put that on, and it's going to give you X amount of decent air. I didn't do the research on how much, but you can see that is pretty cool. That's what it's in that thing. I'll save that, put it aside, and probably never use it. So let's go ahead and clean this thing up. It's got some dirt. It's got some stickers on it. I'm going to use just some sandpaper. And then once I realized that's kind of foolish, I went ahead and put this wire brush on my Dremel and went through the whole thing and got rid of any glues or stickers that would ruin the paint job. And I just went through and just cleaned it all off to make, you can see, look at the dirt just fly off of that. And this really made it a nice surface to paint. Don't skip this step. It's really, really important. And then of course, once I was done sanding and cleaning it up, I went ahead and washed it to get any of the oils off, and then drilled a hole in it. Now this hole is for this little pipe connector that you connect this to your gas mask. And I'll put the link to the drill bit that I got down below. And the piece that I actually got from Michael Hardestry. He's got those. You can purchase those from him. And there it is. And it's a resin piece, or if you're a decent modeler, you can model that up pretty quick. I'm just using some 5-minute epoxy and popping that into place, and I'm going to let that dry. I probably let it dry overnight just because I like to make sure that it is not going to come off of there. And then we're going to use some self-etching primer. This is good for metal, so it will adhere. The primer will adhere. That was some mulch, doing some yard work. And it comes out this nice green, but don't worry, we're going to be copying over this. And again, this is just going to help that Krylon black satin adhere to this metal. And yeah, now we're going to use this metal, the satin to go over this. And looks really, really sharp, really clean. Make sure you stay away so you're not too close because you don't want any runs. But there it is, all put back together and looking pretty sharp. So as you can see, it was pretty simple to get these things looking the way they look. This was probably the hardest thing, to get all those sheets out and everything. Remember to wear protection, heavy duty eye protection, heavy duty gloves, long sleeves. There's some really caustic crap in there that you don't want on your hands, and you definitely don't want in your eyes. So make sure you do that. This one, pretty simple. Now, again, check out that user group, contact Michael if you're looking for anything. The links for everything will be below. And why don't you, if you get a second, in the comments below, tell me what your favorite horror movie is. And is there a favorite prop or cosplay of a horror franchise or a horror character you'd like to see me maybe tackle? All right, guys, happy Halloween month. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.